Max Verstappen's future in Formula One is the biggest talking point of the week. There were some announcements that we were expecting, and there was a lot of speculations on what it could be. Eventually, it ended up being not about Formula One. There are still a lot of questions about the legality of the safety car and the decision that was made by the FIA in the British GP. And with Max crashing in 2 consecutive races, there are some safety concerns also that were raised. So, a lot of things are heating up in and off the paddock. So, let's talk all about that. Hello, my name is Anderson. Welcome back to the channel, your source of all Formula One updates. Do subscribe if you haven't till now. Hey Arthur, what? You also want to share Formula One updates? Let's get on with the big updates from the week. Tensions are brewing in Max Verstappen's camp at Red Bull. Die Limburger, a Dutch newspaper, reported that Red Bull stakeholders, basically this is the CEO and the VPs and the directors of the board, they are all increasingly frustrated as Max has been delaying making the decision. They all think that they are doing everything in their power to retain Max in the team, and these reports suggest that they are looking for greater loyalty from Max after all that they have done for Max. Now here's the thing, I was fine reading this report except when I reached the last sentence about the loyalty. Red Bull have famously been loyal to their drivers, yes, right? As a brand in Formula One, as a team in Formula One, they've been known to be brutal when it comes to driver swaps and driver changes. So yeah, expecting loyalty, the use of the word loyalty here was very questionable from the Red Bull management. But from Max's point of view, yes, there is a clause in the contract that says if he is not in the top 2 by the middle of the season, which is basically the summer break, he can choose to leave, but he doesn't have to make sure that Red Bull knows his decision until October, right? So all of these clauses, even though they are outdated, they are still there, and it was agreed by both parties. So now Max genuinely has reasons to be concerned because of the attrition in the team as well. Like in the last couple of years, all the big members of the team that helped Max win 4 of these championships, they've all left the team in a way. And there are so many more technical changes also that is coming in the Red Bull management. So with these many changes, Max is genuinely thinking about the amount of motorsport expertise that is left in the team. As of now, there are 2 big theories that are being created and put forward by the media. One is that Max will move to McLaren, and the other is that he will take a sabbatical. Firstly, now before we hype up Max's move to McLaren as a possibility, here are my thoughts on that move. Okay, I think there is less than 1% of chance that that move is going to happen. Here is why. I am not a big fan of Zak Brown, okay, but I do respect the crap out of this man for knowing how to run a team. So he had come out just last week before the British GP publicly and shut off every rumor that mentioned that Oscar is unhappy or are they looking for Max. He clearly mentioned even if Max is available, unless Lando or Oscar are not available for whatever reason, like slipping on a banana peel, like the words that he used, only then Max or any other driver will be considered, and they are extremely happy with Lando and Oscar. He also added another point that Lando and Oscar are also happy with being McLaren and the project of McLaren. And Oscar's team also have not publicly made any noise about him being unhappy in McLaren. I know a lot of people are quoting Mark Webber's unhappiness, especially from last year's decision in Monza where they swapped the drivers because Lando had a bad pit stop. But as of today, McLaren have been chill, and Oscar Piastri's camp also have not publicly said anything. So my thinking here is that McLaren are not in a position to take Max, and after all of this, if they do decide to dump Oscar and take Max, I will lose respect for Zak Brown, but I don't think that is going to happen. I think he's a man of his word. Now from Oscar Piastri's camp, if they make any noise about moving to Red Bull or of their unhappiness with McLaren's management, do you really think Oscar Piastri's team is only eyeing at Red Bull? There are other opportunities also, they will also explore. But the fact that Oscar Piastri's team has been relatively silent can mean one thing: something is happening in silence, or they are actually making a lot of decisions and moves to leave McLaren. See, a lot of things are under speculation right now, but before we hype up any Max's move to McLaren and the feasibility of all of that happening, even though it is slim, this is going to be a long summer break and we are not going to see any decisions anytime soon. I think Max is going to be back this weekend and Red Bull are going to be competitive, or they will try to be, and Red Bull as a team will do everything to retain Max and have that sense of we are going in the right direction, wins are right around the corner. Red Bull will do all of this to make sure Max Verstappen is happy and competitive. Max's team might consider moving to McLaren, but are McLaren really considering taking Max Verstappen in? It's all a buzz. It's all people's opinions at the moment. Unless we have something official and concrete from their individual PR teams, we probably will be listening to a lot of gossip. But this is where it stands. We also got the repeat of the Will Buxton's 2024 tweet. In 2024, he tweeted that, oh, he knows something, and if it is what it is, it's going to be massive news. And within a few hours, we got to know Lewis Hamilton is moving to Ferrari, right? So he posted the same tweet, and this time it was related to IndyCar, which he also confirmed, right? But people all assumed that this is going to be Max's move to McLaren and the swap between the drivers and all of that. That is not going to happen. It's not that easy. It doesn't happen overnight. I don't think anything new is going to happen. I don't want anything new to happen. Max and Red Bull are in like this new management ecosystem where there used to be Christian Horner and Helmut Marko who used to be there in these kind of tough conversations, but now that they are not there, the Red Bull management also is finding out some things about how to work with Max Verstappen and vice versa, right? One of the other reasons why these conversations have gone a little out of hand is also because of the fact that Max publicly said that he wanted some changes in the setup, and Red Bull outright refused and went ahead with the previous setups, especially the engine change. In most teams and in most cases, you can argue Formula One is a team sport and the drivers have to listen to the team's decision. But arguably, maybe Lewis and Max Verstappen in the paddock have earned the right to put their foot down, because quite a lot of their team's achievements have been mainly because of their driver, and the driver had a significant part in making their team look good over the past, right? So in this case, I don't think Max was unfairly asking anything from the team. Now, when the team refuses it once, that sets kind of like a power balance equation between the team and the driver to say, oh, by the way, yeah, we heard you, but this is how we are going to make decisions. And I'm sure if that's how Red Bull want to start running the ship in the future, that also tells some things to Max Verstappen about how much freedom he is going to get in the future in making decisions. At the end of the day, all drivers have a shelf life. Max is not out of his prime yet. He has won 4 championships in a row, and the last year he missed it out by 2 points. So I think it is very fair for him to definitely think about his options to win as much as possible when he's in his prime. Now, this brings me to the second theory, which is the sabbatical, right? Max might take a year off and go step away from racing or go into another racing series to try his hand. This is not the first time any driver has done it. Kimi Raikkonen famously went out and then came back to Formula One. I do feel that this is one of the best options Max has, because next few weeks he can wait out and see if the Red Bull team and the management settle down and they focus on the car and are being competitive. And if there are some positive results, he can think about his contract decisions with them. He can take a sabbatical, but my bigger question is, what is the point of moving away from Red Bull if you're not going to move to a winning team, right? McLaren right now are arguably in the same boat as Red Bull. They are not getting a lot of podiums. They are not winning all the time. Fundamentally, they have started off in the wrong foot aerodynamically. So what's the point of Max going to McLaren when they are not winning? If Max wants to be competitive and wants a race winning car, he needs to at the moment go to either Ferrari or Mercedes. Mercedes door is shut because Toto has said he's happy with his drivers, and the Ferrari door is also shut. Why? Because one person is already signed for the future and another person is about to be signed because he's winning and getting podiums in a row. So I'm consolidating all my thoughts together. There are only 2 options left. One is sabbatical and the other is Max staying in Red Bull. We will know at least some more details by next week, because I do think emotions are riding a little too high, because it is not just about Max winning, it's also about the team listening to Max and about his safety specifically. We just had 2 massive crashes where Max was put in danger, and it was because of a technology implemented by the team. So once things have settled down and they have a workaround around that specific rear wing issue, I think tensions will also calm down. Emotional decisions are not always good decisions. They are mostly bad decisions. So give it a few days. We will see by next week, because we will have media day and all reporters will be flooding to McLaren, Red Bull and Mercedes, and they'll ask all sorts of questions. So we will have official comments very soon. But right now, all of this is chatter and rumor that is happening and being reported, nothing from official sources. In parallel, there is also another side of discussions that is brewing. This is with regards to the Macarena Wing and its safety. Now, reports have suggested that the FIA are having discussions with Ferrari and Red Bull about the Macarena Wing. While Ferrari's version seems to be extremely reliable and perfectly fine, the one on Max's car has been giving a lot of trouble. Not Isaac Hadjar. Isaac Hadjar didn't seem to have all of that problem, but there is also that logic where Max is somebody who is always pushing to the limit. Maybe Isaac didn't have that kind of problem because he wasn't pushing. So I think with these two back-to-back crashes, the FIA had to get involved. But what is interesting is that the Ferrari also have been called into this discussion. I don't get why Ferrari are summoned, but I guess FIA is trying to get a big picture of how this technology and the Macarena fully rotating rear wing, how much difference does it make, all of that they are trying to understand. But if the Macarena Wing gets banned, I think Ferrari will straight up be super upset, because it will straight up come across as banning something Ferrari in a way. The rear exhaust thing is also getting scrutinized. Now if the Macarena Wing is also gonna get banned next year, that's it, Ferrari will lose it, because clearly they are being penalized for something another team did poorly. So yeah, the British GP has opened up so many discussions where the conversations are ongoing, and we will get more clarity and resolutions only in the next few weeks. So follow along. If you haven't subscribed, do subscribe. I'll keep you posted on every updates that comes across in these two conversations specifically. There are updates that Red Bull are contemplating on bringing back their older normal wing to Spa. Now Spa is a super critical circuit because Eau Rouge and Radian, they are such high speed corners where just before that the straight mode is ending. So if Max Verstappen's skid, like the similar kind of crash, happens in that part of the track, we all know how dangerous that part of the track is. We've lost people in that part of the track before. It is not a light issue. So I think Red Bull will definitely bring the normal wing just to avoid any sort of issues going forward. To be honest, I don't even know how much of a difference in terms of lap times these Macarena wings add to these race cars. But yeah, just to avoid all of the heat, I think Red Bull, it's the wisest decision to not bring the Macarena Wing to Spa. I also want to talk about a couple of other interesting stories that are brewing in the world of Formula 1. So there are reports announcing that Bahrain GP will be back likely on the 4th of October. It will form a triple header with Baku and Singapore, and the Bahrain weekend will also be the sprint weekend, right? So it has not come out of any official sources yet, so we cannot take this as final. A lot of news articles and reputed organizations are covering it, so we will get an update very soon. I did miss Bahrain, as it is one of those tracks like Barcelona where all teams get stress tested, but we'll have to wait and see if this is actually true. Bahrain races in the evenings under the lights, and it is one of the most beautiful race tracks. It is actually really good to drive, and I'm a big fan of the track. So yeah, if the news is true, I am so looking forward to it. The war in the Middle East has not been very kind. We also don't have a lot of regular updates that the war is receding also. So all of this is subject to change with the political tensions. Hopefully, for the sake of normalcy, the war ends and we get to see a little bit more racing from the Middle East. The other interesting thing that is brewing is happening with the FIA. MBS has been vocal about bringing back V8s. We all know that he's been saying that for a while now, but there has been another line of thinking that he has added. He has specifically mentioned that he wants to reduce the impact of engine manufacturers on the overall business of Formula 1 and racing. So here is what he has proposed. He wants to have an independent engine manufacturer like Cosworth, right? They are technically not a team, they are just an engine partner who is also not racing in F1. They will supply the engine to all teams, and that way the cost of development of engines just reduces for all Formula 1 teams. and it makes the sport a lot less technology dependent and research dependent. It won't be a cost cap war, right? Development war. So one team cannot leverage technology that they unlocked and then just dominate for the rest of the years. And also one engine manufacturer in the grid cannot influence the vote of the other teams because they are the engine supplier to the other team. He's also not saying that the entire power unit will be common and given to the teams. He's only saying the V8s will be given. So all the battery related technology, the MGUK and the turbos, they are all still going to be developed by individual teams, right? So it is not completely taking away the energy and the engine unit from them. There is still enough reasons for manufacturers to invest in power units. He also believes that doing this will make sure that there is plenty of budget for all teams to invest in their own kind of engines rather than purchasing engines from a competitor team. So yeah, this is a shocking new announcement or line of thinking which I have to give a little more thought to because it just got reported. I know I like to understand the sporting side of things and the business side of things as well. See, when it comes to MBS, right, he just got a vote passed so that he can be president forever. Okay, so I am not sure what are the motives behind decisions like this. While I do like the fact that the sport needs a little bit of refresh in the regulations and to move away from this 50-50 era, and I would love to see V8s and V10s and V12s and all of that. I am looking at all of this with a lot of skepticism. I'll kind of make a longer video eventually about this specific change, if it happens, how it will impact racing teams, sports, business, everything, right? So stay tuned for that, but right now this is just fresh off the reporters. There is another big discussion that was brought up by MBS, which is refueling. Formula One earlier in the day up till late 2000s, we used to have refueling in pit stops. Basically during the pit stops, fuel is added into the fuel tank. This refueling had in the past on occasion given rise to some fire hazards and accidents in the pit lane. So one of the reasons why we went down the V6 route was to conserve fuel, and at the same time we didn't have to refuel. All the fuel can be put in the car. Now V8s use a lot more fuel, which means now without refueling, the cars will become much more heavier and bigger. So again, none of these decisions are final. They are mostly going to come in 2030 or 31. So discussions are going on. None of this is confirmed, but I'm just showing you this is the direction FIA is thinking about the future of the sport. A lot of you have submitted questions to me about specifically the safety car incident, and I had made a very clear statement about what happened in the safety car incident in British GP in my previous video. So please go check out my previous video if you are still looking for the answer. Most of the questions were about Max and his DNF and the future of Max and Red Bull. I've discussed some of it in this video, but the crash specific details I have discussed in the last video as well, so please go check it out. Before we move on from British GP 2026 to discussing what is yet to come, which is the Spa-Francorchamps weekend, I do want to take some time to highlight the things that are noteworthy from this weekend. Firstly, I want to start off by highlighting Leclerc's win, which kind of highlighted another major flaw in the Ferrari technology ecosystem, which is their simulators, right? Both Lewis and Leclerc have effectively moved away from setting up their cars based on simulator setups, and it has massively been paying off. Leclerc is also adapting from the old way of Ferrari and doing things in his own way. Now he's also adapting to the new regulations and the cars, and he's gotten back some much needed confidence after his poor, unlucky performances over the last few races. Second, the biggest enemy of Mercedes is Mercedes themselves. They have two great drivers and they have a car that not only can win but dominate, but their reliability has been extremely poor. In Silverstone, the puncture for George Russell was not directly because of a Mercedes team error, and to be honest, neither was Kimi's issue, but this cannot keep happening. Kimi, as a championship leader, has lost close to 50 points overall in the last 3 races just because of reliability issues. Okay, so yeah, definitely something that we have to pay a lot of close attention to in the weekends ahead, because Mercedes, if they don't figure out their reliability issues, they are literally throwing away their championships to Ferrari specifically, because Ferrari seem to be on a roll. Third, I want to talk about Williams. Williams seem to be getting on Sainz's nerves. For a long time, Sainz had been the last race winner for Ferrari. from winning and getting regular podiums from Ferrari to not even getting into Q3. I can see why Sainz also is frustrated. He's also not been shy about making it evident. He's made all sorts of comments over the last few weeks. The Williams project just seems to be too slow at the moment, but the plan was again never to be a midfield team, right? The plan for Williams was always to make it and bring it back to its championship winning glory, but right now they can't even be called a midfield team. They are just like Aston and Cadillac, an incomplete team. So yeah, the frustrations are very valid, and I think Williams needs to do some drastic updates and drastic changes in their way of working for any team or driver to take them seriously and consider them a potential option. Fourth, I do want to talk about the battle in the midfield. Over the last few races, it has clearly been won by Racing Bulls. Arvid and Liam are killing it on social media and on the track. Alpine looked like a serious contender for the first few races. Now definitely that is not the case. Liam's future is also looking short with Racing Bulls, but he has been building up a serious case for other teams to look at him as a potential racing candidate. So yeah, hats off to Racing Bulls as well. And I also want to talk about Fernando Alonso. He has over the last few weeks made a bunch of statements. He did point out that the last year's 3 top drivers are nowhere this season, and in this season it's all about overtaking with a push of a button. And I do agree where these sentiments are coming from, but I think that comment is half-baked. Again, no disrespect to Fernando Alonso, but these regulations are what it is. Some teams always adapt better to new regulations, and that just becomes a momentum and they start winning. Fernando has always been on the unlucky side, not because of any of his own fault. He has just been unlucky in his choice of constructors and a choice of teams that he ends up being in. So yeah, I think it's just another regular day in the world of Aston Martin. We are all looking forward to Baku for them to show any signs of competitiveness. And when I say competitiveness, right now they are 3.5 seconds behind, and they are working on reducing 2 seconds, which means they'll be 1.5 seconds behind from the front row, which means they will end up in Q2 eventually. This is the final update that is brewing. Ferrari are going to get an early run at the Madrid racetrack with a filming day and inauguration, right? Will this give them any advantage? Yes, absolutely, because they'll get to test out the track and they'll get a little more understanding of how the car behaves in that track. It is all within the overall rules of the season, I guess. So Ferrari are using so much more of their authority and the power and advantages to get a lot more testing and get a lot more data on their cars. So absolutely love the buzz this team is bringing. We'll get some really good pictures of the track, and we'll officially get to see some of the developments and how this racetrack feels. I'm sure the media will cover interviews of different people as well, especially Charles Leclerc and Lewis, and how the track feels. So looking forward to having another new track in the calendar. That's a quick summary of things that I wanted to talk about before moving on from the British GP. I know we'll keep coming back to all the other topics that we spoke earlier about Max and the regulations and FIA deciding the future of Formula 1. We'll keep coming back to that. Bahrain also, I will keep you posted if things move forward and there are any official updates. But that's it for today's video. So as it stands, most of what we discussed are evolving conversations. So whenever there is a new update, you will hear from me. Okay, so stay subscribed. I'll catch you all later in the next video. Okay, peace.